everything good in my life, I got to tell you, Jen, everything good in my life, anything worth having at all, whether it be my family or my real estate business, it's all God. I had nothing to do with any of it. So when you
He
said
has a
earlier
bigger
about the
plan
numbers,
for
it's
us
not
than
me.
we have for us.
It ain't, it got nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Maryland Real Estate Influencers Podcast, where we explore the ins and outs of the local real estate market. Join us as we chat with industry experts, uncovering tips, trends, and strategies to help you navigate Maryland's real estate landscape. Get ready to elevate your real estate game. Let's dive in.
Hey guys, thank you for listening. Today we are on with Mark Novak with Cummings Company, Realtors. And he is going to share with us some of his insights in the marketplace during this very crazy 2023 year. Mark, thank you so much for coming on and being willing to be interviewed and sharing a little bit of your success and your story about this industry.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Jen. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And y'all, just so that you know why I'm speaking to Mark Novak. He works himself and he has his own team as well. And I want to share the production numbers just so you know that you can listen to something and have some great stories here. In 2022, he and his team have done 32 sell side transactions and 25 buyer side transactions in 2022. So that's big. These are big numbers. In 2023, year to date already, and we are recording August the 1st, it's 14 listing sides and 18 buyer sides year to date. So this is a man that actually has his stuff together, is following his own daily success plan, and is knocking it out of the park with him and his team. So I share those numbers to humbly brag on Mark, but also to see that he is somebody to listen to in this industry, and that what he has to say is very valuable to increasing your production. So, Mark, I'd love to start off by saying, tell us a little bit about your family.
First and foremost, I have an amazing wife, Wendy Novak. We've been together since 1999, got married in 2005. We have three amazing kids. My oldest, Mark, like they said, Mark the third time's a charm. I think we got it right with this one. He just graduated college, first one in my family to graduate from a university. Got a 4-year degree in pre-law and political science.
Wow.
Or he got a political science with a degree with a minor in pre-law. He's going to go to law school now. So he's practicing for his LSATs, and he's actually studying right now for that. He's doing about 4 or 5 hours a day of studying, trying to get ready for his LSATs.
Amazing.
So hopefully he knocks that out the park. Complete change from high school Mark. Right? High school Mark was much like high school me, where it was like you do enough to get by.
Yeah.
But he's found something he's passionate about, and I can't be happier than that. As long as, like you say, you just want your kids to be happy and doing something that they love. So he seems to be doing that. My daughter, Michaela, is going to be a senior this year at Notre Dame Prep in Towson. That's been an amazing ride. Really sad to see that coming to an end. But I have a freshman that's right behind her.
Okay.
But Michaela's an amazing young lady. She does all kind of like extracurriculars, and she volunteers to help underprivileged children and things like that at the school,
wow.
which has been really cool. And she's also a lifeguard up at the Arena Club.
So nice.
Yeah, I mean, going to school, working, she's always she's putting it in. And then my youngest, Macy's my athlete. She's the 3-sport athlete, and also holding it down in school. So I couldn't be prouder. My wife, we made a decision, when Mark was born, that Wendy was going to be the one raising our children. We knew he wasn't going to be our last. Now, we didn't know it was going to take 5 years till we'd be finally comfortable enough to maybe think about having a second one. Because that first one wasn't necessarily planned, right?
Yeah.
That was God's plan. Everything good in my life, I got to tell you, Jen, everything good in my life, anything worth having at all, whether it be my family or my real estate business, it's all God. I had nothing to do with any of it. So when you said earlier about
plan for us than we have for us.
It got nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Uh, she's done an amazing job with my children, and I feel so blessed that we were able to do that. Like I said, in the beginning, and it's still a struggle. I mean, we still struggle, especially with having, three tuitions. That's not necessarily easy, especially when, in my life, I mean, I rely on real estate sales, right? And real estate sales for the market are down like 40%. So there's a lot less homes being sold, but my expenses don't change, right? So
Mhm.
it's been a wild ride, the whole 20 years. But like I always tell my wife, the best is yet to come. All we gotta do is focus on what's in front of us, do better every day, and everything else will take care of itself. And
Well, y'all are doing something right because those kids seem like they're on the right track.
oh, my kids are, yeah, I'm very blessed. I have some great kids. And they're the kind of kids that they're not afraid to look you in the eye, have a conversation, tell you what they think. If they disagree with you, they know how to do it politely.
Nice.
They challenge authority,
Important.
which is difficult for a parent, right? Because we're their authority.
Yes,
So
most
that's a
definitely.
fine line, right? Where you want to encourage independence, right? But at the same time, have an understanding of, where to draw lines. But they're amazing. And they toe the lines just like me.
I love that. Have you had any opportunity to do any vacationing with them over the summer?
Yeah, we've been to the beach. Yeah, we got a little trip planned for November. We're finally going to go to Mexico. We haven't actually been anywhere crazy exciting in like 2 years. I mean, well, I can't say that. My wife and I were able to go to Maine last year, and we also took the kids up to Salem, and that was a lot of fun. We've never done that before.
Oh, very nice.
Stopped in New York, and so yeah, I think we're long overdue though, because we haven't had a big Novak family vacay in like 2 years. So we're ready. We're
I'm
gonna
sure.
we're gonna cut it up at the hotel at the Hard Rock down there in
There you
Mexico.
go.
Yeah.
So what got you into the real estate business?
It was like I said, I give it all to God. It was a complete accident. My wife and I met at Scotto's Cafe, with a little Italian restaurant in the festival at Bel Air
Sure.
back in 1999, and we were both waiters, and
Okay.
darn good ones, if I don't add. That's part of the reason why I love real estate. I've always gravitated towards businesses where my actions can influence how much I'm worth, if that makes any sense. Like, the amount I'm going to be paid I can influence the amount I'm going to be paid by the amount of work I do. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So,
yes.
and service industry is, it's one of the reasons why I loved it so much, but I knew once we found out we were going to be having a baby in 2000, I was like, well, it was the end of 2000, I think. I said, I can't be like a waiter going to like back to school night. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I knew Wendy was the one. I knew we were going to have a family. So I'm like, well, what are we going to do? And actually, one of my regular customers, this guy named Phil Quick at Scotto's, like, from the second time I waited on him until, I was no longer there, every time he came in, which was weekly, he'd bring his guys in, he'd be harassing me to come, sell cars, right? Like, dude, you make so much money. I promise you, you'll be in six figures, within your first year. You'll be amazing. You're wasting your time waiting tables, this and that. And I never wanted to be a car salesman. I never really liked the idea.
Mhm.
I thought I was going to do. I just knew at that time I was having fun waiting tables and living my life and being young and carefree. And now my whole life is switched upside down. I got to do something, right? So I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to go sell cars. And I go over to Route 40 Nissan, and I'll never forget it, because the way I felt in that moment is like, it makes my skin crawl to this day.
Oh, wow.
Sitting in his lobby, and it's a classic, car lot. So all the offices are glass, and you can see pretty much everything going on everywhere. And I'm looking at Phil, and he's in there in his office. And I love this guy. He was an amazing dude. He was a great tipper. Always had big flashy rings and stuff like that. That was like, I was from Essex, you know what I'm saying? So like, I thought that was the pinnacle. My man was living life, you know what I mean? But I'm sitting there and I'm watching him on his phone, and I got the worst like panic attack feeling ever. Like I couldn't breathe. I felt like my skin was on fire, right?
Wow.
Like the walls were literally melting down around me. And I could barely talk. I got up and I felt real lightheaded. It was everything I could do, literally just kind of wave him off. Like I basically was like, I'm sick. I was like, I'll have to come back, I got out into the car and I got to go back to my grandmother's because I had still lived at my grandmother's. And I had to go meet Wendy, and we were going to have dinner. We were going to celebrate this new job and all, because I wasn't going to see if I could get a job. It wasn't an interview. I was basically finding out when I start. You know what I mean? And the whole way driving back to my grandmother's, I'm just like, I'm bawling, because I'm like, I felt like it was almost like I couldn't handle the stress that I was about. Like had all these things on my mind, and I just thought like I was weak or something. Like I just wasn't, I don't know, it was a weird experience. And I'm driving back, and of course this is all the way from Edgewood to Forest Hill. So it's like a 25-minute ride. I'm just like killing myself. And my Aunt Karen, Karen Novak, was who ultimately got me into real estate, but she happened to be at my grandmother's that night. She was going to have dinner with us. And we're sitting at the table. And of course, they're all excited, and I come in the kitchen and I'm like, I'm basically sitting there trying to find words to tell them I didn't even have the interview. You know what I mean? Like because I felt like a complete failure. It was weird. And I started getting a little choked up. And my Aunt Karen interrupted me as I was going to say I didn't get the job. She's just like, oh, who cares if you didn't get that job, Mark? You're not a car salesman. You should be in real estate. You would be an amazing realtor. The way that because my Aunt Karen knew the one fundamental of real estate is that really nobody cares what you know until they know that you care.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows my character. She knows the type of person I am. When I'm doing something for somebody, I'm all in. And she knew all about that. She knew about how real estate was relational because she had been doing it for 15 years. You know what I mean? So she had that insight. I had no idea. I'm so ignorant, Jen. I can tell you, I thought that if people that had a big house for $500,000, I just assumed they had $500,000 to buy a house. I didn't understand loan. That's how green I was. You understand? So, my mom didn't. She married a man that owned a home, but she never owned a home. My father owned a couple, but the one home he had bought, he ended up getting foreclosed on. That was a house in Baltimore City. I think I was about 12 when that happened. But it's just I didn't have that background. You understand what I'm saying?
That's amazing. And it's amazing that your aunt brought you right into it. That is wonderful.
Yeah. And it was within 2 weeks, I was signed up. I was over at the Coldwell Banker Stevens and Festival.
Oh, yeah.
There's a bunch of real estate agents that were in my class that are still agents today.
Oh, I love hearing that. That's wonderful.
Yeah, they're good friends.
Really wonderful. Well, where do you primarily work now? Is there a specific county or specific area
we're
Maryland?
Baltimore, Hartford, Cecil, Lower Pennsylvania. But I've gone to Howard County, Anne Arundel County.
Oh, okay.
I've gone to Ocean City. It's a little more work because I have more background. I have more holes to fill. Certain areas like Baltimore, Hartford, and Cecil. I don't think there's a community where I haven't sold a home over the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of the ins and outs. But when you've been doing it, I've been doing it at I guess what you would call a high, an above average or high level, probably since 2009, 2008. It took me a long time, about 7 years to really gain a foothold.
Sure.
It was 4 or 5 years of me struggling on my own. And I was doing everything, because we wanted Wendy to stay home. So I was still waiting tables. I was doing I did sewer, like my father was a utility contractor, where they did a lot of road maintenance and water mains and sewer mains and things like that. So I did that for a while. But whatever we could do to kind of keep money coming in,
Sure.
Uh,
I understand that
and then-
completely.
Yeah, I joined the team in 2005, actually with my Aunt Karen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was with a gentleman that, owned his own brokerage. He started a Remax that I eventually worked at. He was the original broker for that Remax.
Oh, okay.
They were like dating or whatever, and he was starting a team. He was getting back into it, but he was out of the broker role and into the agent role. And I figured it was a good opportunity for me to learn,
Sure.
and grow. And I was tired of struggling.
I understand that. I understand that completely. Well, I would like to talk about some of these transactions that you've had in the last, let's say 8 months, or because we're now into August. So let's talk about 2023 production. 14 listings, 18 buy sides. That is really high numbers in this down economy. And we know that the state of Maryland's down 33% overall. And so I'd love to know, is that for you and your team, are these deals coming? Are you having live Zillow leads sent to you? Are you doing a regular Zillow or realtor.com leads? Are these referrals? Are these...
Yeah, I stopped Zillow lead. I stopped with the Zillow in 2020.
Okay.
I think like February or March of 2020. Zillow really helped launch my career in the early, mid 2010, 2011. And, ultimately, the success I had at Remax on the individual side, because my goal was to be, I didn't think I had any business starting a team until I was the number one agent, right? So my goal was to be number one and then start a team, right? So I think in 2016, when I left Remax, I think the highest I got was I think number 4 in the Mid-Atlantic region.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that were all ahead of me had done a fraction of the number of deals. And I was still doing this by myself without, didn't have an assistant or anything. So I'm doing 108 deals trying to, get to number one. And here this guy is he's crushing me by 10 million. And he did a third of the transactions because he's in DC, right?
Right.
That Mid-Atlantic region includes DC. So these guys are doing 20, 30 transactions, and they're doing 3 times the business I'm doing at 108.
Right.
So I'm talking to Wendy. I'm like, babe, if I'm if I'm really going to be at Remax until I'm number one, I'm going to die. I can't, I don't think I can't do any more transactions. Right. And
Right.
apparently the $1 million sellers don't want to work with me for some reason. Right. Because I'm not selling those $1 million homes. Actually, that's a lie. I sold my first $1 million home last week.
Oh,
In 20 years. Very cool deal.
congratulations.
Yes. Yes. And that was unfortunately, what I'm seeing are what we call the D's of real estate. And it's these major life changes. This man unfortunately lost his wife. So it was bittersweet because I couldn't even really celebrate it because I knew Jerry and I knew how hard this was on Rand. So it was a very difficult transaction.
Mm-hmm.
The only part that I really that we got excited about. Now, I got to hang out with Rand a lot. I hadn't seen him a lot since 2014. They bought the house in 2014.
Okay.
For 530. But when I came down and I'm looking at this house of the waterfront lot, it had 500 feet of water, right?
Wow.
It's not a $1 million home, right? Because that's where everybody was the disconnect, but the lot itself and the views, there's nothing else like this. This is $1 million. This is $1 million house. So I thought, I was like, dude, we're gonna get $1 million, right? And after I told him that, he's like, you sure about that? You really think that? I was like, dude, I know it. I just feel it with every fiber in my body. You know what I mean? We're gonna get $1 million. And he told me this after the fact, but he had met with another agent that does, they do a lot of waterfront, right? So they know what they're doing. And his suggestion was $799 that they would probably get it sold for $850.
Wow.
So he's like, if you can give me $1 million, you're gonna make my year. You know what I mean? And this man and his he was what he calls a dink, dual income, no kids,
Mhm.
right? It's like he was very proud of that, him and Jerry. But with that, unfortunately, he doesn't. There's nobody to share in this pain with him. So it was a rough transaction. But
Oh,
he was very happy with the outcome. You know what I
that's
mean?
good.
And the fact that that he was able to get $1 million for it. I mean, just that. No, it's just got a ring to it. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
sure.
that was him and Jerry's home. You know what I mean? That's $1 million home.
Oh, sure.
You know?
So that was a past client referral. Is that where most of your business
It
is
was a
coming
repeat
from?
client. Repeat client.
Love that.
Yeah. Yeah. All of my business at this point is repeat client and referral. I get referral, and I've always struggled with promoting myself. I think I like doing a job well done, and I like people telling me I did a good job. Like that's my trauma-based recovery. Like I have to be approved, right? Like I need your approval.
Right.
Like me, tell me I did a good job. Tell me I did better than anybody else could have done. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's my fuel, and I embrace it. You know what I mean? It's
Oh,
helped my
yeah.
business because I wanted to be. My mission from the first was to be the best. I wanted to be like the best, the sharpest, the most proficient, the most
Mhm.
knowledge, the one that had the answers, the one that everybody went to when they had it. I didn't want to be the busiest because I figured if I could be the best, or if that was my goal, right? Eventually, I'm going to be the busiest, right? That just makes sense.
Sure.
That's not the way life works.
Right.
People got to know you're the best. Somebody's got to tell them, right? So, but
Very
fortunately,
true.
my clients do tell, so that's good.
It's wonderful, and I think you have do a fabulous job on promoting yourself on social media. I enjoy your post because I find them very relatable, very down to earth, not very scripted, not very like you see on TV. When they have
Yeah.
the scripted, unscripted
I'm just trying to have a
shows,
conversation with you as if you're sitting with me and
and
telling you what I really feel.
that shows. I think that shows
Yeah.
on your social media, and you're highlighting the houses, and you're communicating with people very effectively, I believe, because I think it resonates with me, and I think I'm about as plain Jane as they come, but really can appreciate when things are on social media and they're not salesy. It is just like me talking to you just the way we are, whether we have slang. I know I'll use the word y'all all the time when I speak, but just
my language is awful. You know what I mean? It's like, and I say words that aren't real. I say them incorrectly. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm like, high school educated, but I did have some college now.
There, yeah.
And I'm self-taught. Like I read for since I was 25 years old. I've been reading daily.
That's all.
So it's that was really the key. That was you know what I mean? By the time I realized that I didn't have to reinvent the wheel, right? Success leaves clues. Other people have done what I want to do, and I've got to put my own spin on it, my own, energy, my own enthusiasm, my own, genuine desire to succeed or do right by people. And just the nature of this business helps with that because, a lot of people overlook, the thing that I love most about my career in real estate is that fiduciary aspect. The idea that I am an agent of somebody else's interest, right? It has nothing to do with me, right? Had a bad day, this is going on, that's going on. What do I need? What do I want? The person in front of me has a problem that needs to be solved. We've clearly laid out, what a win looks like. What do we got to do to get there? Right. And that's my focus. But
that's it.
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, you mentioned my numbers, and trust me, my numbers are probably, as far as volume and metrics, they're probably worse now than they've been in maybe 4 years.
I think everybody's down.
Right.
But they're still impressive numbers.
Right. Well, it's weird. Like in 20 years of doing this, and I'm the type of person that I take it's like, what helps me, I think, provide a better service, or what allowed me to connect so closely, is my willingness to take on jobs that aren't necessarily my own to get people where they need to go.
Yes.
Like if somebody's got an issue with like a, record at the courthouse, like instead of like how I was trained, you give them the number, tell them to call. It's like, okay, someone tell them to go sit on hold for 45 minutes, or, I can just do it, tell them the end result, and then just give them a disclaimer. You know what I mean? And I'm willing to do that kind of stuff. And I think, I don't know where I was going with that. Well, I just had a complete mind melt. I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. We can go into
But
your
yeah,
role.
yeah, so part of being effective is knowing what's going on around you, knowing what's going on globally, locally, nationally, that's going to impact sales, getting ahead of markets, not reacting to market shifts, but getting ahead of them and always positioning people to succeed. You can't have blinders on. You have to consume constantly. And you have to consume a wide range of material, and then you have to be able to put it all together, right? I would say I was blindsided. I've been through 4 probably big shifts in 20 years. And 2, I was blindsided, and they had kind of different outcomes, right? Like in 2008, right? I didn't realize how bad it was until everybody kept telling me how bad it was, right? Because I was very narrowly focused on, just doing the things that were going to be helping me to succeed on a daily basis and avoiding all the noise.
Mm-hmm.
That I was just finding new opportunities, and I was getting really good at those newer opportunities, and they led to others. And then, of course, at the same time, Zillow came in vogue and they introduced reviews, right? And it was more about what other people were saying about you, as opposed to the person who could, get the biggest spread in Homes magazine or send the most postcards, tell everybody how great they are. And my business just continued to do better. And it's been like that since I went on my own in 2007. I left, the team got dissolved, and right before Christmas, this guy comes and he said it's dissolving the team. It was not a pretty situation, right? There was a lot of personal drama involved with my family, and this guy just not, I guess, being the person who I thought he was. And I'm like, I'm not going back to Coldwell Banker. I got a taste of Remax. I went from an office where it was like the highest produced. We had a couple really good, crazy producers, and then everybody else kind of like stood around and complained, you know what I mean? Or did a transaction here and there, to where I think we had like 30 agents at Elite. And I think the lowest producer was like a 17 or $18 million producer. And this is like, 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So that's a lot of production, you know what I mean? Like these guys were all killers. And I just wanted to be around these people, you know what I mean? But I don't know if you know anything about those various structures or whatever, but it costs a lot of money to be at a brokerage where you get 100% of your commission.
Right.
Traditionally. And 2007, now I'm up to 2 children. I got Michaela and Mark, and now Wendy, and so we're still moving full steam ahead. But again, because of all those responsibilities and that mindset, I'm plugging along every day. And I think if you do the things that lead to success, regardless of what's going on around you, you're going to succeed. And my mindset was like, if there's going to be fewer sales, I really only need about 50 to make a really good living. Anything like that is like amazing, right? So if there's going to be 3,000 sales, you're telling me I can't get 50 of them? I can get 50 of them.
Yeah,
right?
You can get 50 of them.
Come on. That's the mindset, right? And then it starts there. And then I got blindsided again. 2016, I started, started coaching and got into really like tracking and you know, because my goal was always do better every day, right? So if I just do more of what I'm doing today and do that, eventually I'm going to have a good week, you know, good month, good year, et cetera. So, and, you know, the volume and the business trajectory was always increased. You know, some years it increased dramatically, other years it was more, you know, a trickle, but it's always been, my volume has increased year over year, year over year. I never had that. Some agents, they'll come into the business and within 2 years, they're doing the amount of business that it took me 20 years to do, because they're a very, very good self-promoter, right? Zillow allowed it. It opened up a door where I didn't have to fight for a voice, because consumers were going to Zillow to find agents, and then they were picking the agents that had the most nice things said about them. So it really leveled the playing field. I mean, I had agents that were doing hundreds of transactions, and they maybe had, like, you know, a handful of reviews, and some of them not so great. And I'd have, like, you know, 30 or 40. I'm talking about years ago. It would, I would just get all this new business all the time. It was crazy. And it was like that all the way up till 2020. It's 2020 is when I stopped actually advertising on Zillow. I had gotten to a point in 2019 where I had been trying to build this team from like 2017 all the way through, you know, 2020. And just getting kind of frustrated. I went through a lot of different people, and, you know, I'm reading all these books on leadership, and I'm doing all the things that I think I'm supposed to be doing, right? Or what I'm being told to do, but it's just not, it's not working for me, right? And finally get to a point like, you know what, I'm just going to go back to just solo going in. It's like 2019. Focus on what's in front of me, not worry about it, right? And I'd say, I think it was 2 months into 2019, right? Dawn Bellman had come to me. She's on my team now. She was not in a good spot and wanted to come work with me. And I was like, dude, I just resigned myself to, like, I'm going to focus on being a person I want to follow instead of trying to be a leader, right? And I figure once I get to that point, then everything will fall into place. Well, sure enough, here comes Dawn. And I'm like, when she outlined what she kind of wanted to do and how she would want to help me, it's a perfect fit. Wow. Right? She gets to do what she likes to do, and it frees me up to do other things. And then 2 months later, or a month, 2 months later is when Carrie had approached me. And she was also looking for a change. And I wasn't looking for an admin because, like I said, I was so tired of trying to train admin to do the things the way I want them to do. And she happened to be using the exact same transaction management software. So I took it like as a sign. I was like, I've already got everything planned. I've got literally the transaction mapped out of how it should go, start to finish, from the moment the paper's signed to whatever, or until we get to closing, and even what happens after that. All I need is somebody to fill in the space. And, but she also wanted to sell houses too, and she didn't have that flexibility where she was at. Oh. And I'm like, this is a no-brainer. And she came on, and we all three kind of gelled from the start. And honestly, there's never really been any solid framework. Like, I've got processes, especially on the listing side, for how we present properties. I learned the only way to get somebody to pay more for a house than what you're asking is if they're worried somebody else wants it more. Mm-hmm. So, for the longest time, my listing process that I've developed over the last 15 years is about, creating an audience for the property, right? Introducing the property, and then trying to create a way to, create like urgency around the launch, right? And that creates like a fear of loss, and then you get into like the bidding wars. And it's a lot easier in a market like we have now, in a reduced inventory market, to position a property to do really great things. And we've done some amazing things this year. I mean, we just got one on the contract last week where, these people were approached to sell this house for 150,000, and we've got, with a very small investment, 13 grand, we've got the property on the contract for over 200,000. So
Wow,
they're netting so much more because we created a product that more than one person would want, and we let them fight over it.
that is fabulous. Is that the property that's in Essex that I saw you marketing on Facebook?
yes, yep.
That's amazing. Congratulations. That's such a big win.
We had, God willing, it gets to the settlement table, but there's no real hurdles that we should be worried about. But yeah, it still has to close. But yeah, that was a good one.
That's really fabulous.
Yeah, and I so getting into that modality of like the coaching and where I was going, and I'm trying to do all these things like doing disc assessments and trying to find the right perfect people for the right perfect spot and trying to force all this and just, it's like banging my head against the wall. And then things, when I kind of let go, things just kind of fall into place and I take what's in front of me. And, now I've got another gentleman that joined the team, Scott. So I'm not like recruiting, right? Because the team concept that we've built is not like the typical team concept where you have somebody who's very good at promoting themselves, right? So they get a lot of phone calls, and then whoever's up next will deal with the person on the other end. We're trying to create an exceptional experience for every client. So it really is all hands on deck approach. It is a team approach. And everybody has different skill sets. And those skill sets are all complementary. So we're not out trying to find people. When people approach us, or if we see an opportunity where we feel like it would be a good fit, then that's how the team will grow.
Excellent.
But we're not interested in numbers. We're interested in the numbers. I like the craziest thing is like in 2009 or 2008, I didn't know how bad it was because I wasn't really paying attention. I was just focused and we were crushing it. Flash forward to December of 2022, just this last year. I didn't realize how bad it was until I looked at my numbers because I hadn't been tracking numbers for like 3 years since COVID. It's just been a different mindset. I've been on a completely different journey. I've got this amazing team around me. We're getting phenomenal results for every client. This 2022 was a record year for us in terms of our sales to list price ratio, which is a number we track closely. We want to know what are we ultimately selling a house for compared to what we listed it for. In the first year it wasn't until 2019 that I actually broke 100% for an entire year.
Wow.
But the average for the whole year was 100.2. So it was like, it wasn't like what we're dealing with now.
Mm-hmm.
But for 2022, we were 5.7% above the list price for the entire year. So our final sales price is 105% of what we originally listed. And I never thought I would see anything like that. And that is, obviously we do things that contribute to that outcome, but that outcome would have never been possible without the market that we're experiencing.
Right.
But we're also,
right.
yeah, and it's, but we're also setting new price points for neighborhoods too. So it's not like we're just pricing property aggressively. We're positioning sellers. We know what the product people want. If you get the product people want and you position it properly, the market's going to drive the price, especially in a market like we're experiencing now.
Excellent. Excellent. So what goals do you have for your team in this for the rest of this 2023 year?
Well, for Scott, it's individual. He has his own goals, and my goal there is to assist him in any way possible to reach those goals and to be accountable, to help him be accountable to the goals he set forth for himself. I don't do sales projection numbers. I just want to do the things that ultimately lead to opportunities.
Mm,
And, we're in a market now where unfortunately there's a lot of uncertainty. And a lot of various aspects that influence people on a regular basis, right? And it's hard for them to escape it in any particular arena. And with pricing the way it is, people aren't making a move because they're excited or want to change of atmosphere. I think they're less likely to make that move because in a environment where there exists so much uncertainty, I think people find comfort in the certainty of their home.
mm,
Right? It's familiar, it's comfortable, it's where I go when I want to get away from the world or when people are, you know what I mean? It's my sanctuary.
okay.
And until I feel a little more certain about some other things, I'm not rocking that. Right? So we're getting situations where, unfortunately, like with the Middlesex house, I mean, the ladies in hospice, right? Family's got to sell this house. $3,000 can be life changing, or at least, life sustaining, right? So if there's an opportunity to get that for them, I want to do it.
Mm,
That's my goal is to get the best outcome for everybody I'm able to serve. You're getting like people that unfortunately go through a divorce, or maybe there's an engagement, right? So they need their first home. They've got a child, right? They have a due date. So it's like all these, what I call the 8 Ds, right? Those are really the only types of transactions we're seeing, unfortunately. It has to involve some sort of major life change.
can you go over
Uh,
those 8 Ds with us?
Yeah, let's see if you put me on the spot
Oh,
here.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. Let's see if I have any notes in there. All right, so we call it the 8 Ds of new beginnings, right? You have
Okay.
assignments, due dates, dogs, divorce, downsizing, employment, dislocated or a job transfer, and the ultimate new beginning, death,
Yes,
unfortunately.
they are.
But
They're big ones too.
right? I mean, they're all, and those are what I'm looking at the last year and all the people that made a move and what motivated them. Every one of them. It's not like, oh, just want to upsize, it's like because the payment on what they may have or what have you, it's just not there. So yeah,
Yes.
those are the people that are making a move. But in the last 20 years, what one lesson I've learned, the only thing that nothing lasts except for change. And if it's
Very
good,
true.
it'll end. If it's bad, it'll end, right? And this too shall pass. So do what you got to do today to make it a great day. Reach out, engage with people, talk to people, right? Because when you're talking to people and when you're out there or you're engaged, when they have one of these major changes, they know that you're going to be the one to rely on, right? Because people don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Yeah, very true. I love that. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to interview you today and sharing a little bit about your team and your own personal success and what has brought you here over the last 20 years in this business. I am so very grateful for you be willing to allow me to interview you.
I'm a
And
little nervous to be able to put together with my ramblings.
well, I promise I won't be putting together anything, but my team is going to do a wonderful job.
All right.
So thank you
Fantastic. Well, I
so very
appreciate
much
it.
for coming on. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, well, thanks for letting me share.
And before I let you go, I know you had mentioned that there's a phone number that people can reach you at if they have any questions for you directly.
Yeah, they can call or text anytime, 410-449-7770, or, on all the social handles, whether it's, Facebook, any of them, we're Mark's Home Team. And of course, markshometeam.com, our website. You can sign up for daily listing alerts. You can request a value analysis, and it won't be some computer. I'll actually get the information myself and I'll evaluate it for you. We don't do any spam. Just like with my social, if I'm going to be sharing anything, it's because I hope that you find it relevant and informative. And there's a lot of information out there. So if I come across some information that I think is relevant or cuts through the noise, I want to share it with you.
Thank you. Thank you
All
so
right,
much
thank
for
you.
your time today. I do appreciate that.
All right, Jen, go get them.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining the Maryland Real Estate Influencers podcast. We'd like to ask you 2 favors. Number 1, forward this podcast to 3 of your favorite realtor friends. They'll thank you for it, and I'll thank you for it too. Number 2, we'd love reviews. It helps get the word out.